hello. Welcome to the lovely Thursday night stream here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show environment. I was just finishing up a cookie. Happy Thursday, everyone, as I have finished this bite. It was a big cookie. I got it. I ate it all. Chocolate chip. Who doesn't like the chocolate chips? I sure do. Hey, week's almost done. How's everybody doing? It's Thursday. Lovely stream on the Thursdays. I think I have a tendency to, I feel like I have a good balance between the Monday and the Thursday streams, because the Mondays I'm very like focused on, you know, getting the big stories and everything that was coming out over the weekend. I did, you know, a lot of times I did some research on some things and, you know, I want to get some stuff in. And then I'm thinking about the podcast. I'm like, oh, well, I got to get this content in and this content in for the podcast. You know, and then Thursdays, I'm kind of like, hey, what's up? And then I go back to Monday. I'm like, God damn it. Why didn't I work in more content on Thursday that I could have chopped together over the weekend? Story of my life. Yeah. What's new with you? I had pizza for Din-Din's Pizza. I love me some pizza. Pizza is not good for me. But you know, like, it's not as if I indulge in pizza every 3 days, or like, it's not as if I eat it multiple times a week. I don't. But I just like, I like having me a pizza. And I felt, the day ended today, and I had a plan. Okay, I had a plan to make some pasta with some sausage I have here. Got a few veg. I was planning on making a nice little sauce, and then the day ends. I'm done with work. You know, I'm doing one of these, and then and I'm thinking about, oh, I could really go for some pizza. And then I ate the pizza instead of the thing. So, you know, ultimately, it's all my fault. That's how exciting this day went. I don't think there's much. I don't think there's much that went on. Otherwise, there's not much to report really since Monday, right? Nothing really out of the ordinary has been happening. I mean, in my personal space that I feel comfortable sharing, right? It's not as if nothing's been happening in pro wrestling, though. Jeez. Busy day today. It's been an interesting day today. So we are going to be covering some stuff that did pop up today. But I hope everyone's good. I hope everyone is having a good week so far. If the weekend is coming up for you, I hope that you're looking forward to it. So now we're going to say hello to King Bob. Nice to see you, King Bob, and welcome to the chat. Travis is also here, AW1. Nice to see you. Welcome. Also just happens to be a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. It's good to see you. DGMC, nice to see you as well, and welcome. DGMC also happens to be a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Haven't bought WWE 2K26. Yes. Is it out yet? Is it even out? I don't even know. I don't know. There couldn't be anything that more uninteresting to me than the 2K series of WWE games. I feel like I feel like the iterations are all so minimal and whatnot, and it's just a complete. It's a complete money sink. It's entirely designed for that, just to suck all the money out of you. I don't know. And then here's one thing that I was wondering, and maybe some of you who do play can tell me. Do you creators got a code? Okay, so it's releasing. Okay. But then if you got one of the pre-orders, right? Wasn't there a pre-order where you got it early? So if you were one of these that got the early pre-order, the pre-order to get early access, then you're already playing, right? But here's a question that maybe some of you who do play can answer, because I'm not quite sure. When you do your creator wrestlers, when you do your little, your creator wrestlers, right? Do they carry over year after year, or do you have to start fresh every year? Like, I legitimately don't know. I'm kind of hoping for everyone's sanity that they carry over from iteration to iteration, that you don't have to restart. Especially, you have to start fresh every time. That's kind of nuts. I'm sorry, folks. That's kind of bonkers. Because there are people who put a lot of time into, there are people who put in a lot of time into their creations, whether it be just like the characters, trying to model them off of non-WWE wrestlers, or even the arenas now and all this shit. That's kind of nuts. I'm not gonna lie. Can we have a Steve Corina 2000 watch party? Nope, not tonight. Not tonight. Meggy O'Kenna, nice to see you, man. Welcome to the chat. Also happens to be a member of the channel on top of that. It's good to see you, Carlos, as well. Sports and Things Shows. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This t-shirt is the color of how Kraft Dinner used to look before Health Canada stepped in. Doesn't it still look like this? I haven't had a box of Kraft Dinner in such a long time. Or, excuse me, for you Yanks out there, Kraft macaroni and cheese. Kristen Ashley, hello. Hello. Welcome. Also member of the channel and member of my heart. It's a very exclusive club of one. How you doing, darling? Famous feature writer Warren Hayes. We'll get to that in a second. When we get to the little housekeeping bit where, I go over everything, I'll go over it. JD, nice to see you and welcome. I really don't want my soup anymore, and pizza sounds really fucking good. What kind of soup do you have? I'm a big soup guy. I love soup. I made soup 2 times this week. I made a tortellini soup and a roasted tomato soup. It was very good. Both of them are very good. I enjoy soup. My son loves soup as well. We're both soup enjoyers. We enjoy the soup. Cabbage borscht. That sounds awesome. that actually sounds awesome. I'd take that. If someone came up to me today and said, what would you prefer, cabbage borscht or pizza? Honest to God, I probably would have said pizza, because I had a craving for pizza today. But any other day, I'd be like, yeah, cabbage borscht for sure. Or I'd tell the person, put the cabbage borscht in a container, and I'll put it in the fridge, and I'll have it maybe tomorrow for lunch, because cabbage borscht sounds delicious. Honestly, it sounds great. There you go. But enjoy your soup. Yeah, I'm sure the borscht is delicious. You know what? I don't think about making borscht enough. Borscht, and you know what I haven't made yet this cold season either is chowder. I haven't made a proper chowder. I can't. I haven't made any type of chowder. I love me a good corn chowder. Maybe I'll. Looks like I have a plan for tomorrow. unless I, the day ends and I have another craving for pizza, which cannot happen. It's terrible for me. I can't do that too often. See? Corn chowder is where it's at. Boris, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Back after a short break. You did disappear for a while. I was hoping you were okay. Glad to see you're back. Welcome, welcome. If you say no to pizza, and then you won't have a gal. Well, that's okay. Well, I'm not saying no to pizza. Not unless I know it will directly impact my ability to stay alive. So sometimes you got to make some hard choices. Mr. Antox, nice to see you as well. Welcome to the chat. You were talking about Revolution 2025 and people say it was the worst. No, it was not the worst. People just hated Moxley so much it blinded them to everything else on the show. It's so weird. It's so weird. Like I'm talking about, because today, okay, in case you all didn't know, which is possible, right? I don't, there's a fair possibility that you didn't realize that today was the first anniversary of of that promo between Toni Storm and Mariah May, the one where Toni Storm sentences Mariah May to a lifetime of mediocrity, right? That famous promo. And so I'm thinking about I look at it, I think back on it a little bit, and I just share what I feel is an extremely mid take, like a cold, like a super duper cold take, which went something to the effect of, it's wild that a year ago, like just 1 year, it feels like eons ago, but it's just 1 year ago that this promo aired, and a couple of days later, Toni and Mariah had one of the most beloved matches of 2025, a match that I saw in multiple match of the years, right? That the AEW fans have acclaimed, and not just AEW fans. I have seen people who outright don't like AEW love this match, and I have someone pop into my mentions, into my replies, and no disrespect to them in any way, shape, or form, but I just get so flabbergasted because they're like, what they're basically saying, what are you talking about, Warren? Everybody hated that match. I'm like, what? And then that poster doubles down and says, not only did they hate the match, Revolution was voted upon by AEW fans as the worst pay-per-view of the year. And I'm like, wait a second. And then I'm like, I legitimately replied to that person, said, okay, great troll. Because I'm at that point, I'm like, oh, they're trolling me. Like, no one in their right mind would be sitting around saying Revolution 2025 was the worst AEW pay-per-view of the year. This was a show that had Kenny Omega versus Konosuke Takeshita. This had Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay. We had the Hollywood ending match, and a lot of people seem to forget that on that same show there was Swerve versus Ricochet, which was really good. And the only thing that people are unanimous on is the main event stunk, which was Mox versus Cope, which then transformed into Mox versus Cope versus Christian Cage, right? And everyone agrees that was terrible, but it doesn't make the whole show awful, And I panicked. My thought process then is that it's like, what's wrong? Okay, am I losing it? Because I will admit that sometimes I get worried about my cognitive capacity. Okay, I really do. Not that I'm, trailing off or getting hit by dementia right now. But sometimes I'm like, am I misremembering things? Am I just going nuts? What's going on here? And I panicked and I went to the Discord. I'm like, folks, The Mr. Warren Hayes Show Discord link is in the description. You should join. I go to the Discord and like, okay, there's someone on Blue Sky telling me that everyone hated the Hollywood ending match, and on top of that, everyone thought Revolution 2025 stunk. Am I completely misremembering this? Thankfully, people in my Discord are like, no, no. Revolution 2025 was a great show. It just had Mox versus Cope in the main event. So I'm not misremembering. I'm not completely out to lunch. And then the Mariah May thing, like this person who says they were there live, and there's no reason for me to doubt that, right? The person was there live and was saying, everyone there hated the Mariah May match, and people were leaving the building and they hated the show. I'm like, what? And I mean, they're entitled to that, and maybe they were sitting around, maybe they're sitting in a weird section of the building, because I'm sure if we pulled up the Hollywood ending match, we wouldn't have an audience booing. We wouldn't have an audience sitting on their hands. Like, if I remember correctly, the audience was up on their feet going bonkers for this match. Like, I specifically remember when they were taping glass to their fists, the audience was losing their mind over it. Like, I don't understand what this person went through. And then they say, well, everywhere online, people were talking, there was no way to talk about it and be nuanced about it. So I ended the conversation by telling the person, you need to find better spots to talk about pro wrestling then, because I even told them, I literally have no idea what you're talking about. I have the main criticism that I saw going around about the Hollywood ending match was whether it should have main evented or not. That to me was the biggest debate that I saw. And I'm sure you in the chat at this point, I hope you probably have experienced the same thing. I'm assuming that's what happened. I'm assuming that was the thing, right? That everyone sort of felt the same way, that saw things the same way, and that was the biggest point of debate. That was the biggest criticism that I heard. It's like most people would say the Hollywood ending was great, but it should have main evented, especially considering the disaster that was Mox and Edge. That was the main point. I even argued the opposite, but that's a whole other, we don't have to relitigate that. I don't remember anyone saying that Revolution was a bad show. On Cage Match, it stands like at an 8.25 or something like that. I'm like, so I told the person, I told them, you need to find a better place to talk about pro wrestling. I don't know where you've been. I don't know who you talk to, but they stink. Maybe look, if they're hanging around, if they're hanging around, squared circle on Reddit, then of course, Redditors. Anyway, what I felt a legitimate moment of discomfort when that appeared in my mentions, because I was, I was like, wait, Am I completely out to lunch? Am I finally losing it? Have I lost it? Do I have fond memories of Revolution 2025, whereas everyone else thought it stunk? I know. No. And then the Hollywood ending is like on every match of the year list that I saw for last year from multiple publications, right? From everyone, Voices of Wrestling, The Observer, Fightful, ESPN, the whole 9 yards, everything that I've seen, the Hollywood ending match is on every one of these lists. It's a beloved match from 2025. There's like universal acclaim for it. And this person was telling me, no, there's not universal acclaim, and it's probably, it's probably revisionism, people going back and watching, and I'm like, I don't understand. I didn't understand what was going on. It was the weirdest interaction I've had. Someone just coming out and saying this kind of stuff, it just wild to me. DGMC, the guy, the man, left a very generous super chat. Thank you so much, DGMC. I appreciate it. Had a nuanced conversation with a Young Bucks hater about them being the greatest tag team of all time versus the greatest tag team of their generation. Warren's talking to some Census Bureau goof who speaks for others. Wow. Okay, listen. Thank you for the super chat, but I will talk with whom I want, okay? And I will get rattled in ways that I feel appropriate. How about that? Lady Layton, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. It's very nice to see you popping up here this evening, leaving the confines of the blue sky. Thank you for being here. Pedro the Fifth, nice to see you too. And welcome to ye old live stream here as well. I'm more annoyed with the entire concept of that overly done shitty Christian cash-in than anything else. Yeah, exactly. Like that was the main, that was my main, it wasn't my main problem, but it turned out to be the thing that pushed me over the edge and really, really made me hate it. That was the thing. Speaking of that promo, happy 1 year. Speaking of Mariah May, happy 1 year anniversary to that promo, which is why I started talking about this. Indeed. The funny thing is that Mox Cope would have been just as poorly received even if they didn't close the show. Yeah, it wasn't a good match. It just was not a good match. That's the thing. It's like it closed the show, and it's the last impression, the last memory that you have of the show. So you're leaving instead of feeling happy and satisfied, you feel gypped. That's the main difference. Everyone hated it. What do you mean, everyone? I know. I wanted to pull out my old university prof, the old piece of advice he'd given me way back then when I was writing my first essays. He says, "Fear the sweeping statement," which is still a thing I apply today. It was the thing that just stuck with me. People are entitled to their opinion, but they're not entitled to projecting their opinion into a fact that drags a bunch of other people into it. See, if that person had come in and just said, "I didn't care for it, I thought it was shit," and I'm like, all right. I mean, you've got weird taste, but that's fine, it's okay. But then the idea is, then everyone didn't like it, and the people that were there live didn't like it. I'm like, well, no, not you don't. Instead of saying everyone hated it, just convince me as to why it wasn't good. Because sometimes, I don't know if you know this, sometimes the mass opinion isn't necessarily the right one. I don't know if you know this, especially if you live in the United States in 2026. I don't know if you know this. And sometimes the general thoughts on things ain't exactly the best way to go about it. I cannot recall seeing anything negative around, or any negative discourse around the Hollywood ending at all. And this person was vehement in my replies that's all that they ran into, that no one would discuss it. Everyone was hating on it. And I swear to God, like a complete different experience. I had a complete different experience than that person did. That's why I told them at the end. You should find other places to talk about pro wrestling then, because your experience does not corroborate with mine at all. And besides, I think the Hollywood ending, I think objectively was a great match. So like, I don't know what to say. In hindsight, it was probably good it didn't main event, because it would have been a bad look, Mariah May main eventing and then running right into NXT. Well, right into. She was gone for months after that, right? I wouldn't have it. I wouldn't have had a problem with it. I would not have had a problem with it if she had main evented. But like, I said I'm not going to relitigate this, and here I am relitigating it. I was not a proponent of the of this match main eventing or being longer. There's a lot of people say, oh, it should have been longer. That match said everything it had to say in the spot that it was given. It was absolutely perfect. If they had put it in the main event slot, it would have had to have gone 10, 12 minutes more, and it would have been too much. It was such a perfectly executed match. A great story told within, what was it, like 12, 13 minutes, right? If memory serves me right. In that 12, 13 minute span, they told an excellent match, an excellent story. They delivered a physical, brutal match that a lot of promotions, a lot of wrestlers tried to do within 30, 35 minutes and fail. It was a perfect match. Perfectly paced, well put together. Every minute of that match mattered. I completely disagree that we needed more. Completely disagree. It was perfect the way it was. Perfect the way it was. The thing that is sad, the thing that is ultimately sad, outside of it non-main eventing or whatnot, the fact that Mariah May is gone means that AEW cannot address this match anymore. And this is one of Tony Storm's, as well as Mariah's, one of Tony Storm's crowning career achievements. This is one of her big career moments. One of her top career matches. And AEW, until Mariah May returns, till Mariah May ever comes back, they will never address this match. And that's kind of sad. That to me is the biggest tragedy of the Hollywood ending match. Everyone hated Tony versus Mariah and the Jim Cornette Experience Facebook. What are you doing, Hank? Maggie, get the fuck out of that group. What are you doing? Big Man Dogs, nice to see you. Welcome back. It's good to see you as well. Evolution was probably the number 2 pay-per-view of the year. Yeah. Double or Nothing was like the best AEW pay-per-view of the year. And I think it's kind of a hands-down situation. That show was great. Even Bully Ray and Busted Open liked the Hollywood ending. Of course they did. I don't know who the weirdos are who don't like it. What did I clip? No one clipped me telling DGMC is the man. Thank you for the Shamrock Shake, DGMC. It is Shamrock Shake season. No, brother. Mr. PW, I know that's not me, but thank you for popping in. I appreciate it. It's okay, Warren. Dave Meltzer wastes his time with dummies on X all the time. That does not make me feel good about myself. That's not that's not having the effect you think it would. I thought you would have been more than fine with Mariah May in eventing since she was doing business on the way out. If she had won and then vacated the title after she left, then sure, put it on last. I mean, that's the thing. The other thing that, it's Mariah May had a perfect exit from the territory. You know, she had a perfect exit from the territory. She did business the right way. Given the 1, 2, 3 to the champ being left behind. I don't know. It was perfect. It really was perfect. It's rare you get that kind of situation in pro wrestling these days. I especially think some gimmick matches could benefit from being shorter, reinforce the physicality of the bout. Yeah, a lot of matches could benefit from being shorter. A lot of matches could benefit from being shorter. I think the sad thing is Mariah May can never do anything without the constant comparison. She's about to do a street fight on an NXT pay-per-view. Hey, listen, look. Mariah May created the bar for herself at this point, right? That's just the thing, right? And she created she created the bar for herself with these matches and whatnot, and then she went to live her dream. She wanted to be in WWE. She's off being in WWE, but the thing is, she's in NXT, which is a terrible pro wrestling show. So, that ultimately, that's what's sad, is that she probably ended up in a situation where she doesn't want to be, where she probably would prefer really popping off the stuff that she did in AEW, but it's WWE. You're gonna have to do what they say, and you're gonna have to like it. Dan Reed is here, somehow days away from one of the biggest Queendom shows that he's ever put on, and he's found time to come slum around in my live stream. How you doing, Dan? The fact that the Hollywood ending can be Groundhog Day is what will help it live on even more. No, yes, I agree with that. It's just like, it's so weird that, but it's not weird, but it's sad that it just can't be referenced. It can't, like they're going to do promo packages and stuff and highlight reels, let's say, of Tony Storm. And they're going to have to do camera trickery to not show off Mariah May. You know how it goes. You know how these people are. That's what I mean. It can be referenced. They can't openly talk about it. I'm used to undercard matches being a bit shorter. I'm not a massive fan of how things are now, where almost all matches are the same length. They're undercard matches. Variety. Just keep it moving. Build the anticipation for your business end matches. That's what you want to do, right? Anyway. Well, how about we talk a little business, and then we get into the pro wrestling stuff. When I talk about the business, I'm talking about my business, the things that I've been up to. Hang on a second. Big show tonight, Friday in the UK, of course. 500 plus. And that's good. And the big show, 1,200 plus, sold out. Congratulations, Dan. It's a really big show. We're going to be looking forward to it. It's a good weekend to watch, Eve. Subscribe. Go head on over. Not just subscribe. Join the channel. Join Pro Wrestling Eve. Dan, at what tier do we get? At what membership tier do we get access to Queendom this weekend, Dan? Plug your shit. You get the free pass to do the plugs. Because you get the free passes to do the promoter plugs, Dan, from Eve. Champion tier. There you go. There you go. Champion tier will get you the Queendom show this weekend. Stack card. We love our Pro Wrestling Eve. We love Dan Reed. Hope the wife is good, Dan. All right. So, as for what I'm up to, the Mr. Warren Hayes Show podcast was released yesterday. It was Wednesday. That's what we usually do. If you hang on the streams, you've already heard it before. But if you don't, then you get all the highlights. So, it's like so you get all the highlights, and that's tremendous. So that's what it's for, essentially. Plus, you also have access to the New Japan New Beginning in USA show. My full review of that is also available on the podcast as well, so you can check that out there as well. The AEW Dynamite review for last night's show was released earlier today. You don't have to go listen to it now. This is live. If you missed this, you'll never hear it again. It's ephemeral. It just then it returns to dust once the stream is over. Don't tell them about the VODs. The Dynamite review is available right now. So all on the content side, all that kind of stuff is rocking and rolling per usual. And then I write sometimes. I do the written stuff over on Voices of Wrestling. I wrote an article about something that I had been talking about quite a bit on the Dynamite reviews recently, which is about how at least in the title picture right now, they're using rankings. They're just not telling anyone. The rankings are back. It's the rankings never really left. The rankings are back. No one is talking about them. They're like secret rankings. So I talk about that and how, might as well just bring the rankings back, period, then. AEW. So that's an article that I did there. Plus, I was very happy to reveal today that I wrote an article in the May issue of Pro Wrestling Illustrated. And I was very happy about that. I was very happy when that all came together, and I'm even happier that people will get to read it. And it is on the House of Torture. Well, with the new year, how the House of Torture is now sort of moving on now that Evil, a sort of a recap of everything, where they're at, what they represent, and what the future might hold for the House of Torture. So I was very excited about that. It's available right now for purchase digitally, or you can also pre-order the print issue as well. And yeah, I mean, look, I've been working with Pro Wrestling Illustrated for, what is it, 3 years, 4 years? 3 years, Kristen, right? If she's here. 3 or 4 years, something like that. Being a part of the women's list, the annual women's list. When we started, it was the women's 150, and now we're at 250. So there's been a lot of change, a lot of evolution in the meantime. So I've always been happy about that. But this is like my first solo written article that didn't have anything to do with the women's list, because I also do some writing when it's women's list time. So there you go. Tremendous stuff. I'm very excited. It's like a nice. I feel like this is going to be a good year for WarrenHayes, spreading his wings and whatnot. And we're off to a rousing start. So the issue is out digitally right now. Will be available in print in May. Hope you check it out. What is it? What's the URL? It's pwi-online.com. It's something like that. Hang on, let me test it real quick. PWI online. Yeah, that's it. pwi-online.com. And you should go buy it. Or wait till May and buy it off of your local newsstand. Do those still exist? Newsstands? And that being said, you should leave a like on this stream as well. We are going, because I know some of you haven't. I know some of you haven't. So that'll be tremendous, and I'm excited. And there you go. I think that's pretty much it. Did we cover everything, Warren? Am I forgetting anything? I don't think so. I think we got everything in the can here. Right? Yeah, I think so. So, well, I guess that means that we need to kick things off officially. Here we go.
Just let me tell you a little bit about myself.
Whoa, hang on. Jacques, you're complete. You missed your cue, Jacques, you dumb bastard.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Jacques Moliere. Just let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a nunchuck master, and I represent NWA, Mountain State Wrestling.
Hoo-yah! There we go. Now everything's all right. You know, today I had some friends. Hang on a second. Just want to make sure I'm not messing this up here. Okay. Today I had some friends from work take the afternoon off because they went to a local music shop here, like instruments, right? Where you actually buy fucking instruments and whatnot. And they took the afternoon there because Tom Araya, the bassist of Slayer, was there. And I don't know, I guess he was giving a seminar on how to play bass. I didn't know exactly, but they said, "Oh yeah, Tom Araya is going to be there." And they're like, going like to do what? Or is it like a signing? Do you bring like, you know, and it was very unclear to me because then it was like, because these guys are guitarists, right? Like, well, are you going to bring your guitar? Are you going to bring your guitar to Tom Araya and he's going to sign it? Is it like a book signing, but for music instruments? And he said, no, we're not going to bring our instruments. That's not it. He's there and he's going to show off his basses. I'm like, all right. Okay, is he going to play? Well, we don't know. And then, like, is he going to play? Is he just going to stand there and play the bass, or does he have a full band, or, you know, the very least, like a melody section, you know, something? But they were very, very excited. They took the afternoon off, and then I got to thinking, like, let's say you're a bass player, okay? You're a bass player, and you are doing a gimmick where you're signing stuff for fans, right? If you come, let's say, with a guitar, right? You come in with a Les Paul, okay? And you go up to the bass player and say, "Could you sign my guitar?" Will the bass player go, "No, because this is a guitar"? Like, what is the bass player reaction to this? Like, if you walk up to them with a trumpet, you know, or a French horn or a cello, he said, "Could you sign my, you know, Tom Araya, could you sign my cello?" You know, maybe he'll do it just out of courtesy because he's a nice guy and, you know, he doesn't want this to end up on social media and it's like, Tom Araya was an asshole to me, you know, kind of thing, you know, that kind of TikTok kind of garbage. Maybe he just wants to avoid that. But doesn't that not make sense? Like, it's like going to see, you know, Frank Miller. You go up to Frank Miller with a Stan Lee comic book and say, "Could you sign my comic book?" Frank Miller's like, "What? Fuck off." You know, it's like, I'm not signing this. Why would I sign something that has nothing to do? Anyway, these are the thoughts that inhabit my brain that make me worried. I heard Jacques pre-ordered the exclusive Triple H King of Kings version of WWE 2K26. I would like to think, I'm sorry, in my head canon regarding Jacques Moliere, Jacques is not a mark. Jacques will not fall for this. In fact, Jacques Moliere is a Fire Pro Wrestling guy. Thank you, everyone, for being here this evening. God damn it. I promise you, 45 minutes in, we're going to start talking about professional wrestling for, well, we have talked about professional wrestling a bit, but like into the stuff here, on the docket here. we've got some stuff to chat about. We're going to start talking about this report here. We're going to read this article off of the Figure 4 Online Wrestling Observer, where apparently the Road Dogg is no longer, I should say, gotta watch your words here, is no longer with World Wrestling Entertainment. God bless Joseph Courier for pulling up a picture of the Road Dogg, who at a period where he had seen better days, because he don't look like this no more. Body Slam reported today that Brian Road Dogg James. It's funny, everyone's crediting Body Slam, but wasn't it Pro Wrestling Insider that broke the news? I don't know. I'm not getting into these kinds of fights. It's, I don't care. I don't have a pony in this race, and these kinds of things can get real volatile, and I don't care enough. Not for who broke it first. That doesn't bother me. Anyway, they focused Warren. Body Slam reported today that Brian Road Dogg James has departed WWE. He had been the co-lead writer of SmackDown, working alongside John Swikata on the brand. PW Insider notes that the word going around, PW Insider notes, I wasn't completely out to lunch. PW Insider notes that the word going around is that James made the decision to leave his position with the company, and also added in a little rhyme. This was James' second stint on WWE Creative after a previous run that also included him being the head writer of SmackDown. James departed that role in 2019 and stayed with WWE in a behind-the-scenes capacity until being released in 2022. He was later brought back after Paul Triple H Levesque ascended to power with the company. I guess that's right, because in 2019 is the blow up that Road Dogg had with Vince. Wasn't it after the Brooklyn? It was after a Brooklyn show, not the Brooklyn show, a Brooklyn show, and Road Dogg had a blow up with Vince, which probably is not a good idea, considering Vince. During his first stint working as SmackDown's head writer, James was often a target of criticism from fans. AJ Styles defended James by saying that when Vince McMahon was with the company, James's ideas were so picked apart that they were not actually his ideas anymore. I mean, anyway, James is a member of the WWE Hall of Fame, having been inducted in 2019 as part of the Attitude Era faction. Just needed a sip here. See, here's the thing. You can go out and say, oh, the ideas are all picked apart. Here's the thing. If you're in charge, the buck begins and stops with you. So if everything sucks, and it's on you. If everything is great, that is also on you, right? Just Paul Levesque is the living example of that, of a guy who can't stand that the buck stops with him, because he's there when everything is great, shows up and he gets the adulation that he feels he deserves. But then when people start turning on him and people are a little more upset at him, well, then, he doesn't dare show his face in front of a crowd and does his post-match little interludes backstage with a mic stand to make sure that his fifis don't get hurt again, right? But back to Road Dogg. Why am I making this about Paul Levesque? It doesn't always have to be about Paul Levesque, but that's the point. Like, even if AJ Styles wants to go out and say, well, his ideas are always like, torn to shreds and whatnot. It's like, well, he's still the guy in charge. And if the product is not good, well, and his ideas get torn apart and picked apart into something that is not what he wanted, I might think he's bad at his job then. He doesn't act like a guy in charge. Now, I understand that he had to deal with Vince McMahon, who, basically never listened to anyone and would always do what he pleased. But that's not special with Road Dogg. It's not it was never a Road Dogg problem. Everyone went through that process with Vince. He wasn't special. He wasn't a teensy weensy little snowflake, that was just like, oh, poor little guy. Poor little guy. Vince is being so mean. Poor little roadie. Oh no. Poor little roadie. No, who cares? Vince does that to everyone. You're the guy who's in charge. The product, the creative of the product sucks. The buck stops with you. It's just as simple as that. So again, he's in this position once again where the creative the creative sucked and was no good. People were revolting against SmackDown. I kept hearing week after week from people who actually tuned in to listen to it, that it was just an untenable show. Like it was just so incredibly bad. So he took a lot of shit, and if the show's not good and you're the head writer, well, yeah, then you take the hit. You take the hit. That's just how it goes. And I mean, I think this is his fourth, I believe this is Road Dogg's fourth departure from WWE. I think. If I remember correctly, he left with Jeff Jarrett in the mid 90s, right? Like in 95, something like that. Jeff Jarrett walked and he left with him. He returned, of course, shortly thereafter, and then left again like in 2002, something like that, 2001, 2002, when he was having substance abuse issues. Kicked him to the curb, which is a classy thing to do. Then he comes back in the position that we just talked about, then became head of creative, then had his falling out with Vince, then was fired in the mass layoffs of, that just littered the pandemic era. And then when Triple H got back in charge, he brought him back because the world needs a Road Dogg. So good for him. So like in a couple of years, he'll come back for his fifth. He'll come back for his fifth tour of WWE. Yeah, I mean, he took the hit, right? He got tossed out because the creative's not great, right? But if you ask me, there's a reason why he got fired. There's a reason why he took a hit here in an environment where even WWE fans are saying, oh, the creative's not great, right? And do you know why he was fired?
It's time to play the game. Time to play the game.
Because that's why. Because he was there as a shield for his boy, Paul Levesque. That's just as simple as that. You're not gonna criticize Paul. Paul has all these underlings, right? Exactly. The scape dog. I fucking love it, Travis. That's a good one. That's exactly what he is, though. When I was talking about the buck stopping with the leader, right? With the guy in charge. Well, Triple H is the guy in charge. Okay, he has the advantage of being much higher up. So, and he has a team to which he delegates stuff underneath. So the rest of the team, he can move pieces around as much as he wants. He can just move the whole checkerboard, get people in and out. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because he'll be the last guy fired. But this is a move, in my opinion, to calm things down, to show fans that, look, we're getting rid of the problems in creative. We've heard you. You don't like SmackDown. Well, Road Dogg was in charge of SmackDown, so he's gone now, and no one will have the foresight to take a step back and look at the picture and say, hey, you know what? The problem is Paul Levesque. The problem in creative is Triple H. It's not his underlings. His underlings are there to take the hits, because once again, instead of the buck stopping with Paul, he's going to pass the buck to these other people. Are you telling me, honest to God, and I want us to be very, 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 very honest with each other. Are you telling me that Road Dogg was doing all of this creative for SmackDown and Paul Levesque had no say in it? That he didn't give any approvals, didn't thumbs up anything, didn't rubber stamp anything, nothing? Is this what you're telling me? Are you telling me that all the issues with SmackDown are going to be fixed with this guy leaving? Press X. This Triple H guy, I tell you. I'm telling you. Can't stand him. I look, okay, coming back to the least talented of the Armstrongs here. There's been a lot of memeing and jokes going around, well, now that he's free, he can go back, he can come join Billy Gunn in AEW and do a revival of the New Age Outlaws or VKM or whatever they want, or they could go to TNA and do that. Or he could go to TNA and be a part of the creative over there with fucking Tommy Dreamer and Delirious. You know what I mean? Like that's where that's the kind of shit that makes a lot of sense here. Look, this is a guy who's going to sit around and wait for the phone call. He's going to wait around for the phone call. He's probably even actually talked to Conrad Thompson at this point, and we're going to be gifted with another AEW Sucks podcast that's going to be very MAGA coded because it's the Road Dogg Jesse James, and that's likely what's going to happen until Triple H calls him back. That's essentially it. Until Triple H calls him back, he's going to do his little podcast. And, people say, he could show up on something. There's no way. Have you seen the shape that this guy is in? Did you not see the Unreal thing? Right? Did you not see that? Even if you didn't watch the show, you must have seen some clips. That guy is in no shape to be wrestling. No shape. It makes the clip from the Unreal show, the R-Truth stuff, right? It makes it real funny when you realize that when you realize that the stuff that he was saying about truth, about breaks my heart, but at his age, you're not going to get the rewards that you were required for. You're not going to get what you were expecting at the age you are. Talking and acting like he's a fucking Tim Robinson commercial character. Excuse me. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? And now, suddenly talking all high and mighty like he's untouchable. I keep telling everyone, there's no one in WWE now who is untouchable. everyone thinks like Triple H is immune. They don't think that he could probably be bounced at any given moment because he's been there for years under the protection of Vince, who himself could never be bounced, and Vince never really got rid of him. Even when Triple H lost the Wednesday Night Wars with NXT versus Dynamite, and they had to move NXT, and then Triple H got demoted. He just got demoted. He never got kicked out. He never got removed because, Vince. Now Vince isn't there anymore. And these TKO guys, brother, these are sharks. And don't never forget that right now they are scrambling to get more tickets sold for WrestleMania, which is already doing insane business, which is already, what do they have? Like 36,000, 37,000 tickets per night, which is insane business. It's on track to be the most successful, to have the biggest gate of any professional wrestling show in North America ever. It's already on track for that. And despite that, they're still upset that they're not getting the tickets they want. That the tickets aren't selling as quickly as they wanted. They're still upset about that. So these guys are sharks. Do you think that if things really start to nosedive, TKO won't even blink and say, hey, we're going to change creative? Thank you for all. Thank you, Paul. Future endeavors, etc., etc. You don't think there's guys right now set up there in WWE, hanging around creative that wouldn't want to give, that would give their left nut to be in charge of creative of the company? I can name 3. And who knows who else? I keep telling you over and over again. That's why Triple H makes sure that everyone understands that this is his show, because he knows he's on an ejector seat. He knows. He understands this. The board of TKO at some point could just turn around and say, hey, listen, you guys got to do some changes at the top over there in World Wrestling Entertainment. This, it ain't working out. And then Mark Shapiro calls Nick Khan and is like, well, you got to figure some shit out here, Nick. And you can't just, you can't start firing, Michael Hayes or Will Regal. You're going to have to get rid of some, you got to get rid of some heads here. Heads got to roll. So Triple H understands this. That's why he's making the show all about him. So that in the mind of the average dopey WWE wrestling fan, they can't disassociate the two. They can't disassociate the WWE from Triple H. He understands how this goes. Why am I talking about Triple H again? Brian James, right now, the roadie, he's gonna go home. He's gonna take it easy, and he's gonna start a podcast. And quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised in the least if he showed up in TNA. And showed up as in, I'm going to come here to help out with creative. And that would just be absolutely tremendous. But he's going to wait around for the call. He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. And I know a lot of people have been saying, please, Tony, don't. There's no way he's going to work for AEW. There's no way. No way. So, that's what happened to him, right? That's what happened to our boy Road Dogg. But in the meantime, there's some more creative shakeups that happened there, where Alexandra Williams, I don't know why I stuttered. Alexandra Williams on her LinkedIn account today announced that she had been promoted to a vice president role in addition to being the lead writer of WWE Raw. She was already a senior writer and producer. So she went and announced that. The news comes on the same day as a report that longtime WWE creative team member and former wrestling star Brian Road Dogg James has made a decision to leave the company. Williams has been with WWE since October 2020, starting as a writer and producer for Raw, getting a promotion to senior writer and producer in February 2024. She comes from the film industry, having graduated from UNLV. Who wrote this? Josh, is that you, Josh? Josh Nason. Josh, if you're listening to this, tell me, honestly, you're just writing out her LinkedIn page, aren't you? You went to check her LinkedIn, and then you just, oh, this is what she did, and then you're just writing down the shit, right? Josh. She comes from the film industry, having graduated from UNLV with a BA in theater, TV, and film. Look, I'm joking. I'm busting Josh's balls here, but to be honest, I would not go check her link. I would not go check her LinkedIn. We've got all the information right here. Why would I go check? According to her LinkedIn, see, she worked as a development coordinator for 2 separate companies for a combined 5 years. In addition to some freelance work, she's also a member of SAG-AFTRA as an actor. Aren't we all, though? From her new job description, I'm not a member of SAG-AFTRA, but there's a union here in the province of Quebec that I am a member of, an actors union, because I used to act. I used to do improv stuff, and when you wanted to do gigs, well, you had to have the good gigs. You wanted to do the good gigs, you had to be unionized. You had to be a part of the union. So there you go. As VP, and why am I sharing this? Why am I talking about this? As a VP and lead writer for WWE's flagship live program, I oversee all creative development for Monday Night Raw, one of television's longest running and highest rated weekly shows. I pitch to and collaborate with executive leadership in a cross-functional writing team to conceptualize and execute week-to-week storylines, character arcs, and premium live event buildups, including WrestleMania and Survivor Series. I help drive the full creative process from episode rundowns to long-form narrative strategy, developing complex characters and compelling feuds that deepen audience engagement across live broadcasts, digital platforms, and social media. My work is informed by an analytical approach, tracking segment performance, audience trends, and viewership data to make real-time and long-term programming decisions. In partnership with talent producers and brand leadership, I've contributed to record-setting live event attendance and revenue growth, helping position Raw as the cornerstone of WWE's content ecosystem under the TKO umbrella. Now, I just want to point out something here. One of the things that I often as well bring up here on the show is I talk about corporate creativity, right? Boardroom creativity specifically. You didn't have to. I'm glad this bit it came out, because this pretty much confirms everything that I've been telling you when I talk about WWE being boardroom creative, being a bunch of suits sitting around making decisions on what creative directions the show should go. It's nothing about feeling, right? It's nothing about creating emotional attachment. It's nothing about creating, a true narrative, right? A deep, attractive story, right? One that will pull at your heartstrings, make you really feel compelled. No, look what we're talking about here. We're talking about deepening audience engagement. We're not talking about creating something meaningful, creating art. Of course, it's pro wrestling. It's not, but what we're talking about is engagement. Working week to week with executive leadership. Why is the boardroom involved in the week-to-week creative of a show. That doesn't work in television. That's not how it works. You don't have execs being boots on the ground working week to week. They leave that to the creatives, right? Analytical data. So she says it herself, right? She says, my work is informed by an analytical approach, meaning numbers, analytics, looking at the raw data and saying, oh, this is what worked, this is what didn't work. Look, we did, tracking segment performance, audience trends. It's all number based. It's boardroom creative, folks. This is creative. This is creative conceived out of numbers and measurable cold data as opposed to anything with feeling. Yeah, exactly. It's fancy pattern recognizing. That's exactly what it is. They do it in the music industry too. They do it with the music industry too. They break it down. Now they have really sophisticated tools to be able to break down, well, why are all, you take the within the last month, you take the top 10 tracks and you break them down to their essence and why did they work? Well, this is the beats per minute. These songs have an average of so much beats per minute. The tempo is this, the voice is that on this range, and so on and so forth. And here's the meter of the lyrics, so that this is where everything works. Like everything is sort of pulled together. There's no that's not creativity. That's not creativity. Those are numbers. These are spreadsheets. It's analytics. It's cold. You can't create out of analytics. You're not creating, you're pandering. You're just making slop. You're just looking at stuff and saying, well, people, they really like, if you look at your charts and like, hey, people really like bananas. We should really put bananas on TV. I should make a show all about bananas. Well, then there you go. That's not how it works. Well, I mean, it is how it works, but it's not how you make something really compelling. So that's why, this is why WWE is all sizzle and no substance. There's no soul in this. There's no soul looking at numbers and patterns and basing your entire creative off of segment performance and tracking audience trends and stuff like that. That's why for people like me, even before, we get these insights in here, it all explains why WWE comes across as artificial, comes across as phony, as plastic, as a homunculus of pro wrestling, because it's something that pretends to be pro wrestling and caters to audience trends as opposed to an audience. And it's not the same. It's really not the same. And you wonder why fans fall back on business metrics to justify the promotion. I mean, that's all they have. That's when you have nothing else, when you've got nothing else, that's all you really can do. Oh, all right. The live attendances for WWE are huge. They're making huge gates. AEW could never. Okay. But your show still stinks. Anyway, shakeups in the creative and making them so public and on the road to WrestleMania. Here's how we're going to conclude this thought here. All of this, right? All of these changes here. Road Dogg, Alexandra fucking Williams, right? Alexandra Williams. All of these changes that they're doing pre-WrestleMania these are signals to show that to try and recreate confidence in the fan base. I think WWE right now is seeing that the fans are annoyed, they're fed up, they don't see anything really interesting, that they were sort of, 2025 was not a great year and they're looking for things to improve, but they don't see it. They're all seeing the same patterns as they did last year and they're not enjoying it. So Triple H comes out, TKO comes out and says, look, we're getting rid of this one guy you don't like and this other girl here who's been really good. We're promoting her. We're making her even more important because she's good, right? I guess, sure. So it's all to create an illusion that everything is okay and that we're listening, that we're taking steps to change things. Where have I heard this before? Where have I heard this before? WWE coming out, taking accountability. Things are going to change. We know things have been rocky. We're going to listen to the fans. We listen to the fans. Where have I heard this before? It's almost as if this is an old Vince ploy right here. Almost as if. And everyone who thought that Triple H was going to be so different from Vince, everyone who thought he would be so different, look, he learned everything he knows from Vince McMahon. Why wouldn't he be exactly like Vince McMahon? DGMC, thank you for the other super chat. I appreciate it tremendously. BG James, Corgan's NWA champ or Russo's JCW champ? Why not both? Why not both? Apparently only 70 WrestleMania tickets were sold yesterday, according to Alvarez. Holy shit. No, it's not. That's the wild thing. See, this is what I talked about it a bit, but we really need to emphasize this. It's not like WrestleMania is doing poorly. It's doing excellent business right now. It's just not doing TKO excellent levels of business. Their standards, their KPIs are not being hit. That's what's annoying them. But then again, for those of us who have been along long enough, know that professional wrestling is cyclical. And WWE had a hot period. I mean, like I said, they're still doing really great. It's not as hot as it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where it really was like another really a hugely profitable, exciting period for WWE. But now we're coming out of it. And Triple H has no follow-ups because he's creatively bankrupt and a fraud. So this is what's happening. People are losing confidence. They're sick of seeing guys run around all dressed in black and with a hoodie over their head, assaulting people. They're all sick about this. So this is what happens. People stop buying tickets, especially considering that they're overpriced. Anyway. Yeah, they were giving out tickets. Right? They're giving out tickets this weekend at the NASCAR show, right? I think that's what it is. They're giving WrestleMania tickets for people who are going to some NASCAR show this weekend. More consolidation. Have Dana White take over for Levesque. Go on Raw. Do you want to be a fucking wrestler promo? Oh, and Vince would hate every minute of that. It would be tremendous. I'd love it, actually. Billy Gunn tried to get Rhodey an AEW job last time he got fired. No, I don't think Billy Gunn is going to be in a position to be giving anyone a job. Warren being an ex improv guy makes a lot of sense. I've said this before. This is not news. This can't be news. Or y'all are not paying attention. This is not news. Improv HUD, you share a bank account with any family members, Warren? No. If you care about what's most popular, get into K-pop. It's, not off the, that's not off the rails there. Just to enjoy watching the show. You enjoying the show? I can't stand that man. I can't stand him. Can't wait to hear Hunter. Can't wait to hear Hunter does his do his version of the Vince promo about moving on from the kiddie stuff. This is what we do. At some point he's going to do one, right? And it's going to be great. I can't wait. You, the fans, are in control. Exactly. Isn't WrestleMania like a few weeks away? Yeah, it's like it's in a month, right? 3 weeks, right? Like it's at the start of April. Isn't it over? It's over Easter weekend, right? When is WrestleMania 2026? And oh no, okay, it's a little later. Yeah, so we're still over a month away. It's weeks. We can start measuring that in weeks. I need to pay $5,000 for a Cody versus Randy collar and elbow tie-up. I am willing to bet 10 Canadian rubber bucks that main event is going to end up being a 3-way. And I don't know who the third guy is going to be. But there's no way Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes are moving thousands of tickets. No fucking way. No way. No how. These WWE people, they're going to be so happy to be in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia next year for WrestleMania. Who were you with? Who were you with? Second City, Toronto? No. I didn't take it that professionally. It was mostly a reason to travel, go play improv with other people, meet some cute girls, and get really drunk. That's what improv was about. And cute guys too. Rubber bucks? Yeah, Canadian dollars they're made of this polymer. They're not paper. They're made of a polymer, and it's kind of like plasticky. And you can't tear them apart. It's like a polymer. Very hard to reproduce. It's not paper. I call them rubber bucks because it's fun. It's fun to say. It rolls off the tongue. Warren was an extra on the set of Kids in the Hall. I wish. That was the dream, man. Oi, listen, when Kids in the Hall were riding high, I was right in the midst of doing improv. I was right there. If you look, 1992, 1993, Warren Hayes going nuts, doing cuckoo crazy stuff, watching Kids in the Hall on the CBC. Yeah, that's a whole vibe right there. All right. It's Monopoly money, but it's our Monopoly money. God damn it. That's right. Let's move on. Let's talk about the New Japan Cup. Okay, so I'm okay. I'm behind when it comes to the New Japan Cup. Okay. I am not entirely up to date here. Because life, okay? I'm just not there yet. So I'm not necessarily going to break down the matches. I don't have much to say. I've watched one match in particular, which is what we're going to talk about. Watched one match in particular. And I'm pretty sure you already know which match I'm going to be talking about. and that is the Aaron Wolf Don Fale, aka Bad Luck Fale match that took place in the opening round of the New Japan Cup on the first night in Corkin Hall. This is all insane. And Aaron Wolf lost. He lost to the Bad Luck Fale. Took a dive for the Dawn, who is moving forward to the quarterfinals of the New Japan Cup 2026. Bad Luck Fale, ladies and gentlemen, in the year 2026 is moving forward in the New Japan Cup. And I am a part of a couple of group chats with similarly minded individuals, groups in which I'm connected due to other connections that I have and whatnot. I've got a couple. And there's one of these group chats, which generally speaking, right, I'd say like 98% of the time, it's all very jokey and chill and quippy and people sharing stuff, and it's usually a good vibe, a really good vibe. The only time this particular chat gets poisoned is when New Japan does nonsensical booking decisions like this one. And then it turns into a minefield. It's crazy. And it's a thing where I feel like everyone then breaks the situation down into such minutia that everyone sort of misses the larger point, which is having Aaron Wolf lose to Bad Luck Fale, Don Fale, in the first round of the New Japan Cup is a bad idea. I don't know why it's so hard to comprehend that that was a bad move. Now, I will do my best here. I will do my best to sort of play devil's advocate here and try to give a dual perspective in regards to the Aaron Wolf situation here that has developed, right? Because look, the context that we need to make sure that we're all on the same level with is the following. Aaron Wolf was brought into New Japan Pro Wrestling last year. Big announcement, big deal, made mainstream headlines because Aaron Wolf, former judo gold medalist, is a household name in Japan. He is a guy that everyone knows. He's a mainstream commodity. He is the reason why some of the Wrestle Kingdom this year was broadcast on terrestrial television, right? Like on your antennas type of situation. It's been the first time that New Japan has been on broadcast TV in, I can't remember how many decades, but it's been a long time. And it's not because of some deft negotiations from the suits at Bushi Road that made that happen. No, it's because Aaron Wolf was there. That's how they were able to get on television. It's just that's just it. So he came in with a lot of expectations. He came in and he was training and he had his match with Evil at Wrestle Kingdom, and the consensus overall is for a first match from a guy who has never done this. He was pretty good. He looked good, and he was pretty good. It was smartly booked. The guy knows how to sell. he was in the ring with an excellent opponent in Evil who just guided him through everything. It all came together really, really well. And his first outing, wins a championship, the Never title, and things seem to be off to the races because New Japan, whether you like it or not, is depending tremendously on this Aaron Wolf situation to work out. Why? Why are they depending on it, Warren? Don't they have because they don't have any stars. They're all gone. They're all gone. Tanahashi is gone. Naito's gone. Okada's gone. Ospreay's gone. They're all gone. All of the big heads, the big figures, they're all gone. It's not as if New Japan didn't have years before this to build up an army of young guys, already establishing them as the next crop of top guys to parry this type of situation where the stars who carried the company through its golden age of the 2010s are not around anymore. But no, they didn't do it. Instead, they always went back to the Tanahashi, Naito, well, specifically in the last few years, Okada, before he left and whatnot, but never making the young guys come across as the guys, as guys who could easily take the mantle moving forward. That's what they're doing now with Yota Tsuji specifically, because their backs are against the fucking wall, because they have to do it, because they got no other options. Why do you think they brought in Aaron Wolf? They brought in Aaron Wolf because he is immediately a recognizable figure in the company, in the country, I should say, not the company, but in the country. He can attract attention. He can get the attention that they really need to draw people into the buildings. So this guy has to work. He has to be exciting, and there has to be something there for people to get excited with. I feel since post Wrestle Kingdom, let's put it that way, I feel that post Wrestle Kingdom, Aaron Wolf has been horribly managed by New Japan. He has been terribly, terribly presented. He's hanging out with the geeks of New Japan, of the Hantai, right? He's hanging out with Master Wato. He's hanging out with Yo. Just the nerds. The guys who sit at the, who aren't at the cool kids table anymore. He's hanging out with those guys. And he's feuding with the House of Torture, which is already a huge detriment. All people who just by their presence versus his are completely under him. Why isn't he hanging out with Yuya Uemura and Shota Umino? Why is he not hanging out with the champ? Why isn't he hanging out with Zack Sabre Jr.? Why isn't he hanging out with any of these cool people, these top tier wrestlers? Why is he scumming in at the bottom with the lower mid-carders? Why? And worse than that, wrestling House of Torture guys. House of Torture guys who no longer include Evil, who arguably, I don't think it's even arguable, who was the best wrestler of the entire group. There's no one else who could carry a match like Evil did for the group. Who else in that group as a heavyweight can step into Evil's shoes and work with and work a good solid match with Aaron Wolf? I argue none of them. None of them can. Yujiro? Ren Narita? All of this is everything that they do in the House of Torture It's just smoke and mirrors anyway. It's just a clown car of interference. That's all it is. It's never changed, and it will never change. Commentary can sit around and scream all day as much as they want whenever show pulls out a wrench or Dick Togo does dick-to-dick contact. All of this bullshit. You know what I'm talking about? They can sit around and complain about that as much as they want. It never changes. It's always the same fucking thing. And it's practically insulting to your intelligence at this point. How little this has changed. In all the years this fucking group has been together. It's still the same. And now it's arguably worse because the masthead of the group, the guy who had the charisma, the guy who had the most in-ring talent amongst them all is gone. If there was ever a C team in the House of Torture, it's what it is right now. The A team is actually a C team. And somehow they think that this is what people want out of their hero, their gold medal hero, Aaron Wolf. They want him feuding with these dregs here because, they're the evil group. But we also want to see the guy. We also want to see the guy wrestle. We want to see the guy doing things. The argument is that if you keep this guy hot and you make him a killer, you make him someone who can run through this type of mediocre opposition, people will tune in. They'll be like, hell yeah, Aaron Wolf is just tearing ass. Isn't that kind of cool? That's not what we're getting. Now look, the attendance for the first two nights of the Cup, right? With Wolf announced on the card, 1,136 in Korakuen. Night 2 without 1,080. So it's not as if Aaron Wolf showing up to the building on his own is drawing the masses out of Korakuen. Like, this was not a standing room only Korakuen, and a difference of less than 100 separating both nights is not necessarily notable either. So you could argue here, people are not necessarily breaking down the doors to come see Aaron Wolf wrestle live. The numbers are basically flat. Now, you can absolutely argue, and I believe this is the cause here, his booking's been bad. It's been uninspired. I think they should have done something different with Aaron Wolf than this, just like I was talking about. And look, if you want to saddle him with the House of Torture, go right ahead. But have Aaron Wolf run through the mall and with ease. Like, why aren't they doing that? Why aren't they making Aaron Wolf a big deal right now? It would be so easy. Just have him be this killer, this guy who will just tear through everyone and everything. You send the entire clown car after him, the entire House of Torture clown car, and he just hip tosses him all over the place. Judo throws left and right. That's all you really have to do. Because the working theory right now, when it comes to Aaron Wolf is that New Japan is terrified to have him do stuff because he's probably not any good, because he's probably not ready to go. And he still needs some time to cook, but they also need him out there. Well, my argument is this. I'm not expecting Aaron Wolf, who just started, to come out here and start wrestling 5-star matches every night he's on a tour. That's not my expectation. My expectation is that he's an attraction, that he's thrilling, that he's fun to watch. Why wouldn't he be? Again, a guy that he'd be a wall that people would run into. Why wouldn't he? An excellent booking situation right now is for him to have an undefeated streak. He wins the Never title. And if you want to have him work with the House of Torture to begin with, to establish like he's a badass and that he's way above these people, right? Which is also very important. Just have him run through them. 5-minute matches, 6-minute matches. I don't give a shit. As long as it's exciting, it's explosive, and Aaron Wolf then becomes something exciting, then someone that you want to see. And more importantly, establishes him above the House of Torture. Because now they're going the wrong way. They're flipping the script around. He started his debut fighting the House of Torture, fighting the guy of the House of Torture. Let's not forget. And he beat him. And now as time is progressing, Aaron Wolf is losing to the shit members of the group. He's losing to Ren Narita. He's losing to Don Fale. What does that tell me? You know what it tells me? It tells me that New Japan has no confidence in him, that he is not ready to have a singles match with anyone else, and we're just and this is all we're going to do. That's what it tells me. He's going to have these goofy matches with the goofy group, and he's going to lose to them, which is insane. And I'm not surprised that people are not picking up tickets to come see Aaron Wolf versus Don Fale. Like, who gives a shit? First and foremost, who wants to see that? Nobody. And then he loses on top of that. You know, if you want to get conspiratorial for a second or two, you could be wondering, well, first of all, the question that you should be asking yourself is, what the fuck is going on in Gedo's mind? What is going on in this man's brain? This makes no sense. What is he thinking? This is a company. Look, and it's not as if that New Japan can do this, that they can't push a guy who is limited. This is the company that made Bob Sapp a star. They brought Bob Sapp in and made him into an attraction. And Aaron Wolf is umpteen times the athlete that Bob Sapp was. They're not going to pretend that they can't do it, that they've never done it. But look, if we wanted to get conspiratorial and wondering what the fuck Gedo is going around, right? What's going around in his head? Why is he doing this? Why is he taking this approach here? Could it be that he's just protecting guys backstage? He's protecting his talent, that maybe he sees Aaron Wolf coming in as some kind of threat to his guys, to his crew that he's been working with all these years. You think that's it? Do you think that maybe Gedo is maybe salty that the company spent so much money on Aaron Wolf? Maybe he's salty that they spent so much money on him that he's going to turn the little pet project against them. I don't know. These conspiracies. But you really have to wonder what's going on here. You really have to wonder what's going on in the booking of Aaron Wolf. It doesn't make any sense. Look, I heard today, and I think it was Joe Lanza who made this comparison, and it is very, very apt. Gedo is booking Aaron Wolf like Vince would book a wrestler who was getting themselves over, and Vince didn't want that. You know what I mean? Like Zack Ryder back in the day. So the guys building up organic, the guys would build up organic an organic fan base, organic support. Vince would be against that. So then he'd start throwing him into matches where he'd be beaten by scrubs, by lower level people, just to kill the heat. He's done this. He's done this multiple times in the past. There's even times where he's tried to do it, and it failed. Like Bryan Danielson, like Becky Lynch. I think it's an apt comparison. It's kind of what it is. But look, I think that the rational point of view here, and I really do think this is the rational point of view, regardless of how emotional one can be about it. And trust me, there are people who are really emotional about this. I think the rational way of approaching this is, or the rational take is that Aaron Wolf doesn't have any momentum right now. And he doesn't have any momentum because New Japan itself killed that momentum. This is a guy who entered Wrestle Kingdom as a top star, an Olympic killer, and a guy who represents exactly what Antonio Inoki dreamt of. Like Aaron Wolf is an Antonio Inoki wet dream. A guy with legitimate credentials coming into the sport of kings, the sport that no one else could do or handle, like the greatest sport on earth. Pro wrestlers who can do anything. They're the toughest. They're the strongest. And you've got this guy coming in, and he's got the aura, and he comes in and he defeats Evil off the bat. First match, he's a world champion. He is a champion at the very least. Real momentum. Got a meaningful resolution to that story that he had been building with Evil. They're running it again. They're running it again with Narita, but Narita is a weaker antagonist than Evil. And the protagonist is a loser. It's not the same. Losing to Narita is a complete misstep, and losing to Bad Luck Fale makes it even worse. There's no one in 2026 who wants to see anyone wrestle Bad Luck Fale. No one wants to see Don Fale wrestle. No one wants to see anyone wrestle Don Fale. Like there's no excitement. There's no novelty to it. And what they're doing, essentially, at this point, is the exact same House of Torture story that they have done with everyone else that has been involved in a House of Torture feud. It's the exact same fucking thing. So how does this turn out for Aaron Wolf? Well, it turns out that Aaron Wolf is just one of the guys. He's just another guy on the roster. There's nothing special about him, really. He's just another guy. And he's another guy who's limited, very limited. I mean, that, like I said earlier, that's the message that New Japan is sending out. This guy's not ready to wrestle alone. He's not ready. His game is full of holes, and we're going to try and protect it by having him lose to the House of Torture. You see how insane this this logic is? It makes no sense. Now, in an environment like pro wrestling, in a pro wrestling locker room, I can pronounce things. In that type of environment, people are always working to hold on to their spot. So maybe Aaron Wolf is a victim of politicking backstage, of people that are just struggling real hard to hang on to their spots, that they're doing their goddamn best here. And maybe there's some of that going on too. But then again, you've got choices to make here. This guy came in, he is costing New Japan a pretty penny. They need this guy to work. And it's not that he's not working. We saw that people are into Aaron Wolf. He had the momentum, but New Japan is getting into its own way and keeping Aaron Wolf from getting the momentum that could carry him into being a star. That's where we're at right now. This loss, absolutely preposterous. It is terrible booking. Absolutely awful booking. And there's no two ways to go about it. And I'm not going to sit here and try to create a scenario in which, well, maybe down the line New Japan is going to... I am not going to fantasy book for New Japan or carry any water for any of these decisions. These are terrible decisions. Awful decisions. And if by the end of 2026, we're all doing our little recaps of the year and we're saying, wow, Aaron Wolf, what a bust, huh? Well, we know we will know where to point, who to blame, and it's not going to be necessarily Aaron Wolf. Paul Heyman has a lot of flaws. He's a very flawed gentleman. However, he was always right. He was always right in one thing, in the way that he approached booking professional wrestling. He was always right about one singular thing, one theory. And that is that in pro wrestling, you always accentuate the positives and hide the negatives. Right now, New Japan is not doing that. By not having Aaron Wolf wrestle, thinking that they're masking the negatives, they are in fact exposing the negatives, because people like me and a lot of fans out there as well, maybe even you, look at this and look at what they're doing and say, Aaron Wolf is not ready for prime time. He probably stinks. And that's the worst thing you could be doing. I think that's the worst thing you could be doing. Have him come in, have him do whatever limited arsenal he has. Just have him destroy dudes, especially the House of Torture. Who gives a shit? Have him defend this title over and over again. Get people into it. Because right now, there ain't a lot to get into. So, there you go. Oh, here's another really good point, by the way, that was kind of brought up in the chat, and I think it's important to point out. I had made a note of it, but clearly slipped my mind. It's a great point. You're having him wrestle Don Fale. You're having him wrestle Ren Narita. You're having him wrestle fucking Yujiro. Who cares? Like whoever else in the House of Torture nonsense. You're having him tag team with Master Wato, and how is he if he stinks, if he's not there yet, how the fuck is he gonna learn if he's wrestling these doorknobs? If he's wrestling the likes of Yujiro, how the fuck is he gonna learn? How the fuck is he gonna improve? Put him in the ring with real goddamn wrestlers who will take him to the limit, will push him, and who will work within his parameters. Just go. But wrestling these schlubs in the House of Torture, doing House of Torture shtick, that's not going to help him. That's not going to have him improve. It seems like an A to B type of situation, but clearly we're not going to go from A to B directly. We're going to take the scenic route for some reason. I don't know. Anyway, a complete and utter mystery. I don't know what New Japan is up to. I really don't. I don't understand it. And New Japan is doing exactly the same thing as they did last year, where I felt last year in February was really, really excited and hopeful. And then for the rest of the year, everything just came apart. I don't know. I don't know what to do with this company anymore. I really don't. I really don't. He's getting the young lion treatment. No, he absolutely is not. He's playing the part, but he is not. Look, at the amount of money that he's being paid, you do not have him come in to do the full young lion treatment. A young lion doesn't win on his debut. A championship on top of that. He's not supposed to be a young lion in any way, shape, or form. He just shaved his head and put on the black trunks as a mark of respect. But trust me, this guy is not perceived as being a legitimate young lion. This is not them trying to prove something. That ain't it. He really should have gotten some triumphant moments before getting screwed again. Yes. And not even screwed. Just lose the title eventually. Not even getting screwed. House of Torture's role in this should have just to get Aaron Wolf over. But no, what we decided to do instead is get Ren Narita, who is going to amount to nothing. Get Ren Narita over. That's what we wanted to do. That's what we ended up doing. It's insane. It's legitimately insane booking. Aaron Wolf in United Empire or any other faction would be good, as long as he's not hanging around with the schlubs like he's doing right now. It's crazy. I would book him to beat people like in like 7 minutes. That would make him instantly stand out. Yes. I would even have him beat certain guys in less. I'd have him run through Yujiro like Yujiro is like nothing. It's so odd because they are booking him completely different from Naoya Ogawa, for example. Yep, yes. And it'd be so good if they did it that way. I honestly have no idea what they're doing here. And this company has to look inward, and they have to at some point someone's going to realize that Ghetto's done. These are terrible decisions. Inoki would have booked himself to squash Aaron Wolf. Well, yes, of course. Well, not squash, but beat him. Of course. That's what Inoki always did. He brought in like why do you think he brought in Vader to begin with? This is like, I'll beat this. This will be a good guy to beat. You know, that's what. Of course, he would have done that. Dio, it's nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Wolf is losing to people that would go 50-50 in Ring of Honor at best. Pretty much. At best, at very best. I mean, it could be something as simple as, like I said, right? That, he's got to pay his dues. But Jesus Christ. It's not as if this company is rolling in dough for all your little locker room traditions to really take precedence here. Am I mispronouncing politicking? Politicking, I guess, right? I guess that, yeah, it's probably a little French influence again. It should be. Yeah, no, yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, because I think I do have a tendency to say politicking. Politicking is what it should be. Correct. Yeah, it's absolutely not a bit. It's like the last time. It's it's like the last time. It's like the epitome. Also booking 2 years ahead of time so that there's a plan to follow. Oi, I'm not even going to ask for 2 years. Give me 6 months. Give me until the next pay-per-view. You know, it's like that. I'm easy to please. They lost all the top stars. Ghetto has no clue what to do. Exactly, because he hasn't been building any stars in the meantime. Anyway, look, it's very frustrating. Very frustrating. This is way off topic, but do you think the Fed will to some sort of Gargano retirement and backstage role at NXT if he retires, so he doesn't jump to AEW and wrestle with DIY? They will offer him, I guess, something. Yeah, I don't want Johnny Gargano anywhere close to AEW, and that's wild. Because there was a time I would have loved it. Now I really don't care. I don't want him around. There was a time I would have been like, fuck yeah, let's bring Candice LeRae back with the Bucks again. You know, let's have them do shit together. Now it's like, no, thank you. Nope. They've got terrible instincts. They like to do the creative, goofy things. No use for that. I hope WWE throws as much things at Johnny Gargano as possible to keep him from coming to do a DIY reunion. And besides, it's like I've talked about before, I am not into AEW becoming into becoming, you know, NXT reunion town, you know, where you bring back these old acts and these old feuds to have them to relive them, suckle on some NXT nostalgia. I'm not into that. It's like when they did the Undisputed Era back in AEW. I was like, why? I don't want to see this. Move on. Do things that are fresh, change, evolve, try other things, It's like and I know everyone means well. Don't get me wrong. I understand people are excited. But when I see the dogs, being all smushed together into a group, the War Dogs, right? In AEW, and people instantly go, oh, against the Bang Bang Gang, the old Bullet Club people. I'm like, why is that your go-to? What are the different matches that we have never seen that could come out of this? Why do I need to rehash, stuff that happened in New Japan to begin with? And I understand that Dave Finlay has history with Juice and he has history with Jay White, and that's fine. I understand all of that. I've seen it. We've seen it before. And I'm kind of like, if you're bringing in new people into your promotion, have them fight new people. I mean, they're probably going to do Jay White and Dave Finlay at some point. That would be my guess. I don't know. Maybe. Am I too cranky? It could be I'm too cranky. Speaking of which, why don't I have it here? I thought I had it on the docket. I don't have Dave Finlay on the docket? That's preposterous. What kind of fucking preparation is this? Because this will probably be our last topic. I also want to. I'm looking forward to for the first time in a long time. I'm going to be checking out Ring of Honor because I want to see what their studio setup looks like. I'm very pro studio wrestling. I think it's good. Oh, there we go. For some reason, I was sure I added it to the doc, but it's not. But suddenly it is. There we go. Let's talk about this before we wrap it up. AEW announces the signing of New Japan Faction following surprise Dynamite appearance. What? What are we talking about? What's going on? Amid plenty of discussion in the past months about his status with New Japan Pro Wrestling and interest from WWE, David Finlay made a surprise appearance on Wednesday's AEW Dynamite along some old friends. Now, Finlay, Clark Connors, and Gabe Kidd are officially under AEW contract as The Dogs, announced by Tony Khan on X, Twitter. Parentheses. Why isn't Tony Khan not using Blue Sky? Like, his most devout fan base is on Blue Sky. That's what he should be doing. Anyway. Finlay appeared after Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin's victory over Connors and Kidd, hitting both Allin and Cassidy with a shillelagh. The three stood tall afterward, reuniting three key members of the Bullet Club War Dogs faction from New Japan Pro Wrestling. Hey, you know what? Maybe Alex Coughlin is coming up next. It's maybe Carl Fredericks is gonna. It's unclear as of this time whether the three men are under dual contracts with New Japan or exclusive to AEW. Fightful did report shortly thereafter that Finlay's deal is for multiple years and came together over the week. Kidd and Connors have been regulars on AEW TV over the past month, feuding with Allen. Finlay has wrestled once in AEW, losing to Hangman Page back in June 2022. Finlay's contract expired with New Japan in February, but he continued to wrestle through the last weekend's New Beginning USA. Kidd's last New Japan match came mid-February, and Connors last appeared for the promotion at January's New Year Dash. It was reported by Fightful that Finlay and WWE had been in contact, but that he wasn't factored into any plans. It was noted on Twitter that the 3rd, 4th, and 5th leaders of Bullet Club are now under AEW contract. I pointed that out. Yeah, I'm not on Twitter. That was me. Okay, listen. I was completely floored when I saw Dave Finlay pop up on my screen on Dynamite last night. I did not believe what I was seeing. It's like, excuse me. You know, and I let out a guttural, like, what? And Kristen, we were watching it, and Kristen sort of looks at me and she says, what? What's the big deal? What's Dave Finlay? And she says, okay. So she's right. But that's the thing. Like, you know, if you've been around for the last few podcasts, the last few streams, you know, over the past, you know, month and a half easily, we've been talking constantly, or not constantly, but often about David Finlay and his New Japan contract. And that's why I was so shocked. Because look, I promise you, in the things that I heard in the dark, you know, the dark whisper chambers that exist out there, in everything that I heard, the constant was AEW has no interest in David Finlay. That was constantly what I heard. They're not into him. No interest is what I'd hear. That's the thing that would resonate all the time. And now, turn around and he shows up in AEW. I'm completely stunned. So I can understand that the guy is like, you know, he goes to WWE, like he's finally done with WWE, right? And we talked about this recently. He's finally done with WWE, with New Japan. And he's like, okay, I'm going to go test out free agency. No interest from AEW. He gets an offer from WWE where they're basically saying to him, you know, we can hire you, but, you know, we're not all that interested. You're not a star. So what we're going to do, because this is reportedly, he was offered to be a player coach in NXT, right? Basically helping out the new kids, wrestling, but you know, never with the promise of being somewhere bigger, you know, because they just didn't see the potential in him. And it's for NXT money. So he's probably like, yeah, you know what? This sucks. And I swear to you, I had even heard, and we talked about this. I had even heard that New Japan had reached back, that he had reached back out to New Japan to say, well, look, what if I came back? You know, what if I resigned? And from what I understand, New Japan would have gladly taken him back. There's no hard feelings. No one was upset. Finlay, they would have kept him around. Finlay just wanted to go do something else. He wanted to try out free agency. He wanted to come wrestle in the States. That's what he wanted to do. So you know, they do, so New Japan, and not New Japan, but WWE do the offer. It's not what he wants. And so like I said, we hear the rumors that he might be going back to New Japan, that it's in the cards. And then he shows up. At the New Beginning in USA show this past weekend, wrestles Fred Rosser, and he beats him. So, you know, anyone with half a brain sort of shrugs their shoulders, points at the screen and goes, oh, well, okay, so he is indeed coming back then. he's back. He's not going anywhere. He might take a little break, but he's going to come back, isn't he? And then like 4 days later, shows up on fucking All Elite Wrestling television. And I'm like, okay, what a trip. What a ride this one was. Because yeah, all the things that I heard have been, they've come from, they've all been coming from different spots. So they all sounded they all came across as being very credible because they were coming from a multitude of sources, essentially. And everyone was saying essentially the same thing. So it all connected, it all made sense. It turns out old Dave here was like, he had another ace up his sleeve. Now, like Fightful reported, the deal came together this week. So very quickly, it came together very quickly over the course of the past week. But on top of that, Fightful also reported that Dave Finlay was done with New Japan. Because again, I was watching Dynamite last night. He does his run-in, and the segment ends, and then his New Japan music plays, his War Dogs music plays. And I'm like, oh, okay, so then it's probably a dual contract then. Because they're playing the music, and he won at a New Japan show just a couple of days ago. So, all of this is probably some really good messaging that Dave Finlay is still going to be involved with New Japan in some way or another. But then Fightful Select, Sean Ross Sapp is out there saying, nope, he's done. He's done with New Japan. Like, curious. Okay, if you say so. Alrighty then. What a fucking trip this has been. Like, this is like, remember we were talking about how exciting this contract season has been. And, now things are kind of winding up because contract season is pretty much over. Everyone's sort of fallen on their feet and signed and got re-signed and whatnot. What a fucking denouement to this one. Like, this has been like the true storyline throughout the entirety of contract season that ends with the biggest twist. It ends with the biggest twist. I mean, good for him. Look, good for him if he called up Tony Khan and Tony Khan was like, yeah, you know what? I could bring you in and you could actually wrestle and no player coach bullshit, and I'll give you more money than whatever you're getting at NXT. Good for him if he did that. This is what two promotions are for. That's fine. I honestly don't know. What Dave Finlay would have done here. Like, people meme about and talking about even in the chat was like, he could have been a member of the Birthright group, yeah, going over there to slum it with fucking Brian Pillman Jr. Like, yeah, sure. That sounds rad. Ultimately, I'm happy for him. And I think here's what I'm thinking. And maybe I should preface this just in case you're new here. I like David Finlay, and I've liked David Finlay for a couple of years at this point. I don't want to say forever. I don't want to say for a long time because that would be lying. But for the past 2 years or so, I found that his presence and his in-ring presence has developed into something really, really cool, right? Like, the way he wrestles, the way he conducts himself, he's a bully. That's always how I like to refer to him. He's a bully. He's a guy who comes in, he'll be a dirtbag. He's strong as an ox. He'll throw you around in ways that you weren't expecting. He's a bully. He comes in and he bullies his opponents around. And I appreciate that because it's an energy that really didn't necessarily exist in New Japan. And I think he's good at that role. When commentary says, Dave Finlay, sneaky strong guy, he really is strong. He's a super strong dude. But he doesn't have show muscles. He has shoot muscles. he doesn't have work muscles. He's got shoot muscles. He's legitimately strong. And I think that one of the reasons why people would really get on David Finlay's case is because of the fact that he was positioned as a top guy or in these upper echelons. And you could see him having a trajectory into the world championship in New Japan Pro Wrestling, right? You could see that trajectory going this way. And a lot of people saw that, and seeing who he was, they did. I think a lot of people became very adverse to him because he was put in these spots that maybe he didn't belong in. David Finlay has a lot of qualities in the ring. I would say charisma is not one of his strengths. Not at least not on the level that you expect your top guys to have, your world champions to have. Like absolutely not on that level. So when I think of David Finlay in AEW, I'm thinking, well, he's a perfect mid-card guy. Perfect for the spot here. Because if you try to right now, you look at David Finlay and you're like, is he going to go hang with Will, with Swerve, with Kenny, with MJF, with Hangman? He's going to go hang with those guys. And even the guys that are on the come up like Bandito. And there's a disconnect there. But you have him hanging around with guys like Darby, guys like Orange, right? Upper mid-card guys. I don't have an issue with it. Mark Briscoe. He fits in perfectly. And I legitimately think that a Dave Finlay running the mid-card in AEW for a while, I think we might discover things about Dave Finlay that we will enjoy because I think he'll be used to his strengths. I think he'll be used in an environment that will just make sense for his potential. And who knows, maybe he will grow organically into a real top guy. That I'm a little more doubtful of. But Dave Finlay, mid-card stalwart of All Elite Wrestling, winning TNT titles and national titles, sure, anytime. That absolutely works for me, brother. I like Dave Finlay's work more than the opposite. And I really think that the issue that most people have / had with Finlay was due to the fact that he was positioned to be a top guy, that he was on his way, that's how he was being groomed by Gedo over there in New Japan, and people weren't into it because he's missing something. He was missing something for that upper crust in New Japan. Like his ceiling was global title. And I think that's fine. I think that's absolutely fine. We even tried to give him the world title shots and that didn't work out. And no one batted an eye. Everyone was like, yeah, no, that's fine. So listen, it's the conclusion, the denouement of a hell of a tale that happened throughout contract season. It was a great story, twists and turns, and a big shocking reveal at the end. Big twist. It's a big twist, but there you go. I mean, I think that's good. It's good. I happy for him. And I think he's going to find, I think he is going to be able to carve a nice little niche out for himself in AEW outside of a world title situation. In an environment where he doesn't have to be considered a world title caliber performer, I think he's going to do great and better than if he had hung around NXT on top of that. I think he's the only Finley not involved in the Federation. I think so. I think he's the only guy. I made a very loud noise. I really did a what? I'm telling you, Kristen was taken aback. She was like, what? What's the big deal? What's going on? I mean, I apologize for the Alex Coughlin jokes if you were... if that's still a very raw subject for you, I apologize. Apologize, chat. I'm sorry. I heard Tony was offering him a deal a month before this. Look, I stick by what I heard. And maybe that'll turn out to be the case. And the people that the whispers that I got turned out to be wrong. But I legitimately kept hearing that there was no interest in David Finlay from AEW. And look, if the deal was signed within the past week, that adds credence to that theory where everything just happened over the past week. Was like, okay, the call, the negotiations, the papers, all of that, the signatures, the lawyers, whatever the process is. It adds credence to the idea that there had been no real talks beforehand if everything sort of happened really expeditiously. Could you imagine Dave Finlay filming it with Regal's kid and Brian Pillman Jr. alongside his little brother? No. Yeah, we talked. No. And I forget Regal's kid is in that too. He's in that group. I saw one person say, I can't believe he chose money over his little brother. It's like, that's not what he chose. That's not what that was about. Like, sure, he chose money over his little brother, and I'm sure his little brother was like, yeah, go take the check, brother. What are you doing? Like, people go, I can't believe that they do that. Finlay did get wins over Jay White, Ospreay, and Mox. Well, he was a guy in New Japan, so Did y'all talk about Steph DeLander? No, unfortunately, and we're kind of reaching. We've reached the limit of the. We've reached the limit here of the stream, but look, I had her right here. We'll save it for Monday because I do want to talk about it, and maybe even between now and Monday we'll have some more segments, some more news, I should say, to guide us down the right path, but. Yeah, like the long and short of it, but we will cover this. We will cover this on Monday. We will cover this because, the long and short of it is that she went to get operated on by WWE doctors, and then she comes back since she wasn't and she was cleared, but she wasn't medically cleared by TNA doctors, and they didn't want to let her wrestle because she wasn't cleared by their doctors. It's like, what the fuck, kind of thing. And then she talks to Carlos Silva like on Monday, and Carlos Silva's like, yeah, I'm not very comfortable having you wrestle, seeing that you're injured and whatnot. And she says, brother, I'm medically cleared. Yeah, but you didn't see our doctors. And then she outright asks him, she asks, according to her, of course, she outright asks him, okay, Carlos, what is my injury? And he's like, I don't know. He doesn't know. He didn't know what her injury was. And she's like, fuck this company and the horse you rode in on. And she decided to leave. And then her husband, right? Boyfriend, at the very least, boyfriend, Mance Warner. Yeah, I think they got married, right? Anyway, Mance Warner, who's with her, they're a thing, they're a couple at the very least. He walked out in solidarity with her. So kudos to him. Get the hell out of that shit show. Get the absolute fucking hell out of Dodge. It's a fuck TNA. Leave them behind. Go do anything else. Go do anything else than being saddled into this dopey ass fucking company. Husband, they are married. Thank you. So that's a spoiler right there as to what I'm going to talk about on Monday. There's a little spoiler right there. But yeah, like there might be new elements that will pop up in the meantime. But are we surprised? Are we surprised that TNA is a complete shit show with its medical? Are we surprised? No. The answer, chat, is no. We are not surprised. We are not surprised in the least, because this is the same company that wouldn't pay for Chris Bay's injuries, right? Chris Bay had to do a fucking GoFundMe to get the money to pay for his surgery for his massive injury that he took, that he suffered, I should say, while wrestling for TNA. So, fuck them. Oh, and by the way, this is the number 2 promotion in the United States, right? If you all recall. Number 2 promotion, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else. Didn't they do the same thing with Daphne? Correct. It's all... Anyway. And Daphne is, the thing... Daphne was another era at the same time, and it still hasn't changed. But you see, you've got Chris Bay here, whose injury happened under this very administration, under the Carlos Silva era, right? There are people who are just so incredibly unlikable, right? And not that I don't hate Carlos Silva. It's not like I got this visceral distaste for him, and I just I wish only bad things ever happened to him. No, I just don't like him. He's so unlikable. That's right. They did a You are correct. Oh, how fucking sad that was, wasn't it? They did a t-shirt rally for Chris Bay after they got shit on social media. Carlos Silva is a goober. He likes to see himself on television, doesn't he? He enjoys it. It's he's probably sitting there. He gets the letter of resignation from Mance and Steph DeLander. Then he rubs his hands and goes, "Yay, more spots for NXT people. Hooray!" Puts on his off-brand TNA cap. His little vest that makes him look like mommy's little FBI agent. Have you ever noticed? That he looks like someone who dresses up like an FBI agent? like a kid, you know. An FBI agent, you know, going on the field to a crime scene. Ever notice that that's exactly what he looks like? Carlos Silva's just happy because he gets to be on television. Why is it, parting thought, why is it that still to this day right now, nothing about the TNA deal with AMC has leaked? Nothing. Not a peep. And I'm not just talking about to the wrestling media. I'm talking to industry rags like The Hollywood Reporter, like Variety, who typically get these types of stories, right? The Warner Bros. Discovery deal, the renewal with AEW wasn't leaked to Sean Ross Sapp or Dave or Mike Johnson. It was the trades that got it. You know, that's usually how these deals get leaked, because there's someone, because they're, you know, a reporter has a source working at this network or at this studio and whatnot. And then they see the stuff and they, oh, I could send you this, you know, send this over to my journalist friend, or the journalist calls the source. Hey, you got anything? Oh, I got this, you know, Warner Bros. Signed a deal with AEW. I got the details. Oh yeah, send them over, you know. Why is it that nothing about the deal has been leaked? That is shocking to me. And there's got to be a reason. Other than a reason other than the deal being embarrassing. That's there's got to be another reason. Because even if the deal was embarrassing, it could be leaked. Or the fact that it looks like they've put no additional money into the product. That's what I'd like to know. Because look, I think conventional wisdom would have you believe that it's an ad split that they're doing right now, which is fine. Okay, we got to keep this reminder going. It's fine if it's an ad split. AEW started with an ad split as well. The ad split is not the issue. I'd just like to know what the deal is specifically. What kind of money is coming in? Because like Dio said, doesn't seem like there's any money going into the show. Doesn't sound like they're signing any huge, interesting talent, right? Feels like all the money is still going towards, you know, salaries for the Hardy Boys, who are legitimately the only two stars that the company has. It ain't Moose. I'll tell you what. So, you know, it's like, yeah, and some people have been signed to very short-term deals, from what I understand. We're talking months. They re-signed in July. You know, in January, I mean, you know, this rash of re-signings in TNA, you know, it'd be like, oh, this person re-signed and this person re-signed. You know, that rash of re-signings that they did in January, end of December, January. I know there's a couple of people in there who re-signed, but their contract was an extension for a few months. We might reach a point fairly soon, unless this deal with AMC really pays off something spectacular, but we might be seeing something very soon something that might look like an exodus of talent. But it's just like TNA signed them in January for X amount of months and the contracts are up and TNA doesn't have the money to keep them. Doyle is a very good example. That was one of those. And there are others. It would be funny if survived everything and then folded. If TNA survived everything and folded in a few months into a new cable deal. Look, I know better than to predict the downfall of TNA. I know better. But it would be extremely embarrassing. And that they fold under the protectorate of WWE. Look, I don't know what their deal with WWE is, right? None of us are privy to it. But if WWE is consistent with every other deal they have ever made with any promotion that they have ever worked with, that they've ever supported, there will be a clause in there somewhere that says that they have the rights to purchase the assets and, you know, the brand and the IP of the company and make it their own. Happened to Evolve, for instance. ECW. So I'm sure at the very least, WWE will just wait. They'll wait till TNA crashes. They'll pick it up and either allow it to live on in whatever form it is, or they'll just, you know, pick up the scraps. They'll just pick up the scraps, the tape library and all of that. Surprised Slamovich hasn't returned to TNA. I'm not. There's a lot of people who don't like her. There's a lot of people who don't like her. And there's a lot of people who really like Akira. I'm not all that surprised. I think she will be back. But boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy. Oh, this isn't the Exodus? Fair. There has been a lot of departures, but okay, how about this? I don't think it's over yet. I don't think we're quite done yet. But we beat Collision in the ratings. Who's we? Johnny, who's we? Don't throw me in with these people. Don't throw any of us in with these people. Johnny, what are you doing, brother? All right, we're gonna wrap it up for the Thursday stream, folks. Thank you all so very much for hanging out, for coming in. Nice hello to the first timers who popped in. Hope to see you again. I'll be back Monday for another stream, which will be exciting. And look, we've got a whole bunch of stuff we didn't cover here. We're going to have a busy Monday because then in the meantime, there's going to be more stuff happening over the weekend. We're going to have a really busy Monday to try and cover all of this stuff. So there we go. Enjoy your weekend, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I love you all, but in a very platonic way. Take it easy, and I'll see you next time. How about that?